If you grew up in the 2010s, the chances are that you remember the slew of videos that were titled YTP or YouTube poop.
Am I glad he's frozen in there and that we're out here, and that he's frozen in there and that we're out here, and that
There were tons and tons of them, and they were absolutely hilarious. They were silly, nonsensical styles of editing existing media, typically popular media, but often also media that was controversial, like political opinions. Around 2020, I noticed a drop-off in these being recommended to me personally, and so I thought that meant the genre had basically died in the COVID years as TikTok took off. It seems, though, like something has changed recently. The advent of the Kane Parsons Backrooms movie having now come out, and there being so many successful, popular YouTube poops of it, has kind of brought me back to question, did it ever die as a format? Wikipedia claims that the earliest YouTube poops were posted in 2004, which feels nonsensical because YouTube wouldn't be released until 2005. These earliest YouTube poops were not posted on YouTube. They were posted on other sites, like Sheezy Art, for example. A YouTube poop is just a remix of an existing piece of content. For humorous reasons, typically. It might be a SpongeBob episode, it might be the movie Moana, or it could even be video from fraudulent lip flapper Dennis Prager. It doesn't really matter as long as the content is pretty humorous. It's also regarded as having a low video quality or being low effort, hence the name YouTube poop. Beyond that, we're not really sure why the term YouTube poop stuck around, other than maybe that the vowel sounds are all the same. YouTube and poop have pretty similar vowels, and typically they're actually the same for most English speakers, but I actually have two different vowels. This style of remixing would stick around for a while until it became really popular in the mid-2010s. Some of these videos were getting like tens of millions of views even back then. The one that introduced me to the whole thing was the Misadventures of Skooks. It was a remix of the Hanna-Barbera cartoon Scooby-Doo, specifically the old one from the 60s. I believe it was 1964. That one was really funny to me because I grew up watching What's New Scooby-Doo, and my dad grew up watching reruns of the original show in the 80s. It was absolutely hilarious. The jokes were hilarious, and it is sitting right now at 1 million views. And it got so popular that the official Scooby-Doo TikTok account actually reposted a joke from one of the videos, specifically the "Where's the Caveman" joke from the third video.
am I glad he's frozen in there and that we're out here, and that he's the sheriff, and that we're frozen out here, and that we're in there, and I just remembered we're out here. What I want to know is where's the caveman?
The Misadventures of Skooks is just one example, and not even the most popular. You had other examples parodying other popular movies, like Woody from Toy Story loses his Shmo. You had Cold, a parody of Frozen. You had Peter Parker Wants Pizza Time. The most popular YTPs have tens of millions of views and hundreds of thousands of likes. Although these are just the most popular ones, some lesser but still popular ones include a series of YouTube poops featuring content from Dennis Prager, the founder of the University Prager, and those ones are hilarious because they just take his takes and completely contort them on their heads. For example, he did a lecture about how socialism bad, which is a bad faith, bad attempt at debunking socialism, and the YTP turned that completely on its head and turned him in favor of socialism.
Racist, sexist, Republican. These words are virtually interchangeable.
They were the original deepfakes, and the difference was you could tell that it wasn't real because it was ultimately slop. I maintain that the word shitpost actually still has like some semantic input into the word YouTube poop, although I don't have any basis for that other than the metaphor is the same. That kind of low quality style is seen as shit. A YouTube poop is a shit post on YouTube. According to Luke Dornell at Digital Trends in 2019, the downfall in popularity of YouTube poops can be attributed to three different things. First is that the community is splintered apart, as communities tend to do, and so they just went their separate ways, and so videos became more niche and they weren't as much for a general audience. And two, those original producers of YouTube poops, like Shea Frillis Productions and Amp Lemon, they just kind of moved on. They moved on to greener pastures. Moreover, this is part of a broader trend in the internet of moving away from the old internet ugly and into a new financialized professional internet of professional video editing, as an example. And the YouTube poop was a part of that old era. Personally, though, I don't actually think this downfall ever happened. If you look today, some of the most popular YouTube poops ever were published within the last 5 years. For example, take Nuts, which is a Moana parody. Now, the audio has been completely picked over because of Disney, but you can find versions of it with the original audio, including the video editor's YouTube Shorts version, which preserves the original audio. And that video has 41 million views, and might actually be the most viewed YouTube poop of all time. And Nuts isn't alone. There are several other YouTube poops that have been published within the last 10 years that all have 10 to 20 million views. While I agree that, yeah, the YouTube poop community has changed and the old people that were producing have moved on, I don't actually believe that there's been a downfall in the popularity of YouTube poops. Today, there's basically a YouTube poop for every piece of media on the internet. So, what separates a popular YouTube poop from an unpopular one? One of the things is that the most popular YouTube poops take advantage of an already popular piece of media. As an example, consider Nuts, which has 41 million views in no small part because Moana was just that popular when it came out. Moreover, consider Woody Loses His Shmo, which is a parody of Toy Story 2, an insanely popular Pixar sequel. And The Misadventures of Skooks is a parody of the Hanna-Barbera cartoon from the 1960s that was also very popular and remains popular through adaptations of Scooby-Doo. But if you actually look at these videos, it will become clear that it's more than that they're just part of a popular piece of media. There are hundreds of YouTube poops for each of these pieces of media, so what's the difference between them and those popular ones? If you go and watch them, you'll see that it's about audience. The audiences that those really popular ones are designed for is a general but still relatively niche internet audience. The memes that are included in them are relatively niche memes, songs which you wouldn't find funny unless you've been conditioned to find them funny, images of SpongeBob and other meme images that you wouldn't know about unless you just knew. In fact, this is actually one of the issues that happened within the community. As it became splintered, people began making jokes in jokes until the jokes just didn't make sense to anybody outside of the groups. And so now you had a splintered YTP group. The YTP as a concept is inherently unprofessional, a rejection of the ever-professionalizing internet. It is crass, the comedy is vulgar, and by all accounts, it is lower effort than the corporate slop that we're seeing on the internet now. But that's part of what made it special, and continues to make it special, right? Is that it allows us to take a piece of media that we own and make it ours, and then share it with other people. A thing that for so long we took for granted. Dorel actually has a good point about this too. He reminds us that modern art is a lot like the YouTube poops, insofar as the point of modern art is that either you know or you don't. It separates us into two groups of people. You either get it or you don't, which is very similar to how YouTube poops work. This is why I think the YouTube poop as a format will just never die. The old YouTube poopers, they're gone. But a new group of YouTube poopers is here to stay, at least until they too move on as their editing skills become better and they search for greener pastures. So in 10 years' time, we'll be having this conversation again. Where did the YouTube poops go? Followed by, they're back.
I just remembered